This is Ray.
And this is Andy.
And this is FDS Local Sports.
How's it going, Ray?
It's going great, Andy. Andy, what's
Ray.
going on with all the Hamilton Ticat stuff?
Well, you know, Ray, it's playoff time in Canadian football, and my Miramichi Valley Pulimu are not in the playoffs. My Mount Allison Mounties are also not in the playoffs. But as you know, I'm a temporary Ticats fan while we're waiting for our team. And they are in the playoffs, right?
They're in the playoffs.
So I decided to get into the playoff mood, the playoff spirit for this show, because nothing makes a good show like when you're ready to go.
There you go.
And speaking of the CFL, like I just said, temporary Ticats fan, all right? The moment our team here in Atlantic Canada arrives, this stuff is a no-go.
Schooners. Hashtag Schooners.
Hashtag Schooners. And if you guys are looking for an update on what's going on with this whole CFL and Atlantic Canada thing, well, we've got the perfect place for you to go. Head over to firstdownsportspodcast.com. And on the right-hand side, you'll see our feed of podcasts. And our most recent CFL podcast, we talked all about the CFL expansion and the recent news that took place in Halifax, where the councillors voted on the decision to review the business plan. We had two awesome guests that had all kinds of information for us. Tony Mancini, of the councillor in Halifax, as well as Dave Naylor from TSN.
Dave Naylor, TSN?
Who's basically the main CFL guy. These guys were filled with all kinds of information for us. I got the counselor to nail down a timeline for us. So if you listen to it, I basically get him to say, am I crazy or am I bang on with my timeline? He said I was bang on. So it'll give you an idea of what to expect, what decisions are left to be made, and when we should hear something. Because waiting's the hardest part, right?
It is the toughest part. And if you're considering getting season tickets to the Atlantic Schooners when they come available, you want to listen to our podcast because you're going to get a tip on when those season tickets could go on sale.
All right. So how about we talk about some other playoff football, and we'll start with high school this week, Ray.
We're going to switch things up?
We're going to switch things up.
Switching things up.
And we're going to start with the 12-man where the playoffs are over, and the
Playoffs
championship game has taken place. And Tantramar down to Riverview in the championship game. This took place Saturday at 1 p.m. They actually played at Mount A's Field, I believe.
They played Mount A.
Instead of on the Marsh. Yep.
They played Mount A, and I'll tell you, Andy, Jeannie and I, we got in our car and we drove to Antigonish, Nova Scotia to watch the AUS Semi Final.
Yeah. And
it was a nasty drive on the way to Antigonish. Some would say we were almost foolish to be on the roads. But we bared down and we made through it. So this game that was taking place in Sackville,
yep,
the weather was not cooperating. I can tell you that, Andy.
Gotcha. Well, you would think it might be a low-scoring game, but in this case it was not, at least on one side of the contest. Tantramar takes this game 42-0. Tantramar is hashtag still here.
Still here.
Which I'm seeing all over social media. And they win the championship. So this is 4 provincial championships in a row, though we're going to talk, maybe there's a little bit of an asterisk next to this one. We'll talk about that in a second. But why don't you tell me a little bit about the game?
Well, listen, you knew in a game where there's going to be lots of rain and wind, there wasn't going to be a whole lot of passing yards. Right? And that didn't help our good friend Logan Grossman. Mm-hmm. And Tantramar did what Tantramar does, and that's they ran the ball. Oliver Longpre had a career day, over 200 yards in rushing, Andy, and 5 touchdowns. 5 touchdowns this kid put up on the board. Listen. And then don't forget, number 2, Lucas Cormier comes in. When Oliver Longpre decides he needs a break, he comes in and puts up 150 yards and a touchdown as well. They put up over 350 yards of total rushing against the Royals. And I don't care if you're the Royals. I don't care if you're the Hamilton Ticats. If a team is rushing against you for 350 yards, that makes for a long day, Andy.
Yeah, and Oliver, listen now, Ray's talking nonsense here. I know you didn't need a break. Just Lucas was getting bored, right? All right. So they share those carries, right?
They do. And at the same time,
Tantramar, these players, they don't need breaks.
No. Lucas also plays defense, and I'll tell you, he is a graduating player for Tantramar this year. He had a phenomenal game on defense, what I'm being told by the coaching staff. And what a way to kick off or to end your high school playing career, getting 4 championship games or 4 championship years in your high school years, and through that time they only lost 1 game, and that was to Riverview. Which is amazing.
And let's put a pin in this 4 championships discussion, Ray. So we appeared on Across the Line, and we talked a little bit about the fact that where there wasn't 8 teams in the league this year, this wasn't officially a provincial championship. And I say we just throw that out right now. They won the championship that was available for them to win, and they did it in the usual Tantramar Titans fashion. So as far as we're concerned here at First Down Sports, 4-time or 4 in a row provincial champions.
4-time provincial champions in a row. And I want to tease this. We're working on a date and time right now. But we're going to have our annual interview with the winning head coach, and that is, again, Scott O'Neill. But this time, FDS is going to take it on the road, and we're going to come to Sackville and meet with the head coach and a lot of members of the community that support the Titans.
All right. Well, we'll see how that goes. My old stomping grounds.
There you go.
All right.
That is your 12-man final.
And let's jump to what's going on in 10-man, because that final's coming up this weekend, and let's see who got there. So the first game Friday, KV downed Bernice McNaughton 19-6, Ray. So KV's going to move on. Do you have any information about how that game went?
I don't have any information other than the fact, again, this took place on Friday night. The weather was not great for this football game.
Yep.
KV does have a team that can run the ball as well. Mm-hmm. I don't have any stats for you on this game. And our good friend Seth,
yeah,
our reporter, apparently the rain was so bad, Seth got washed away in the current. And now we're looking for Seth somewhere in Centennial Park area.
Yeah, exactly.
The search is on for him.
We don't know where he's at. Wherever he is, he's probably figured out a way to forget about this game, and he's still celebrating the Red Sox World Series victory in the most irritating fashion.
Yes.
Yeah, Red Sox fans are one thing, Ray, but teenage Red Sox fans. All right, let's move on.
Yeah. We're looking for you, Seth. We're looking for you.
Next game, St. Stephen's. St. Stephen's, they've been dominant the whole year, and they're heading into the final in dominant fashion as well, Ray. They take out Harrison Trimble 35-0. I don't know if you have any information for us on this one either.
I can tell you this. This was also on Saturday.
Yeah.
And
this is a crazy weekend.
I know. It was on Saturday, and the field officials for this game, number 12, Aaron Dunfield, has reported to me the field was almost underwater at game time.
Great.
So this would have been a very tough ball game to play in. But St. Stephen runs that T-wing offense. Yep. And like we've been telling you all year, folks, these guys can run the ball.
They can
very
run the ball.
Similar to Tantramar. They pound that ball down the middle of the field. And St. Stephen takes out Tremble.
There you go. And St. Stephen's running straight into this Saturday, which I hope is much better weather, as they will face off against, as we mentioned, KV for the 10-man championship.
For the 10-man championship. Now, back on September 29th, Andy, these two teams met in St. Stephen, and St. Stephen won that game 21-9. Okay. So these two teams already know each other a little bit. KV was able to put some points on the board against them.
Yep.
So this should be a good 10-man final.
And 21 points for St. Stephen's is actually quite low. So their defense is competitive too. So this should be a real good game.
Should be a good 10-man final this year.
All right. All right, Ray. Well, from high school, let's move on to more playoff football. On to the AUS. Talk to me about the games that happened this weekend. We already know that you had to drive through all kinds of chaos just to get to one. Let's go through it.
It was chaos. All right, let's go. We went to Antigonish, Nova Scotia. St. FX was hosting Acadia Axemen, Andy. And what a ball game this was. Both teams were amped up. The officials were ready to go in this game. I got up. I got my seats in the stadium. I was sitting right beside Kevin Jones, Coach Kevin Jones from the Mount Allison Mounties. So we had a quick conversation about their season. And what a game this started out to be, because 2 minutes into the game, Jordan Shashalachuk breaks a huge run, Andy. He goes 103 yards for a touchdown.
Nice.
Around the 10-yard line, he was out of gas. He was out of gas, but he makes it into the end zone for the X-Men to take the lead 7-0 right off the bat.
Were you in position to run along with him?
I would have probably been about 15, 20 yards behind him.
I think so,
had I been on the sideline.
And you know what? We're going to make a deal for the rest of this podcast. You're allowed to call him Jordan.
Jordan?
Just Jordan is fine.
No, I love the Shashalakchuk.
All right, tell me more about the game.
All right, more about the game. Acadia came back late in the first quarter, and they scored. Dale Wright ran the ball in from 2 yards to tie this game up 7-7. After that, both teams exchanged field goals, and it was 10-10. Late in the second quarter, there was 2 minutes and 30 seconds left to go in the second quarter.
Yeah.
The score is 10-10. Acadia stops X midfield, and Coach Waterman turns to his bench, and I hear him from the crowd say field goal. And in comes Kieran Burnham.
Okay.
From 53 yards out in the AUS on a windy day. Wind was at his back. But he nails a 53-yard field goal.
Great call, Coach Waterman.
To take a 13-10 lead. And Andy, I'm going to tell you right now, that was the FDS turning point because no points were scored by Acadia after that field goal.
Oh.
It was an amazing kick. The place went crazy. The players on the sideline were going crazy. It was a huge, huge way to end the second quarter.
That's a big-time field goal.
They take the lead into the second quarter. They come out, and right off the bat, X forces Acadia into taking a team safety. We've seen this play numerous times. We've talked about this play. I still don't understand this play.
I'm a little tired of talking about this one.
Late in the fourth quarter, our buddy, Bailey Wasdale. Okay. He fakes a handoff on a sweep play to Keon Julian Grant. The entire defense goes with Keon, and Bailey ran out to the opposite side of the field and ran in his own touchdown.
Nice.
So good job to Bailey Wasdale. Listen, this was a very good game, but I really want to put some emphasis on the coaching in this game.
Okay.
I think Coach Waterman completely outcoached Jeff Cummings. Dale Wright, this guy was the most outstanding offensive player in 2017, Andy.
Yeah.
He touched the ball 15 times for 55 yards and a touchdown. And on the X side, your buddy, Shashalachuk, he rushes the ball 24 times for 242 yards and 2 touchdowns.
242.
In that type of weather, you had to get your running game going.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what X came out and did. They ran that ball all day, and Shashalachuk looked fantastic. He had 2 touchdowns, like I mentioned. The first one for 103 yards. The second one was from 52 yards out. Wow. So big, big day for him. On the defensive side of the ball, though, I've got to give some shout-outs to Acadia. Bailey Feltmate, huge day. He had 14 total tackles.
14.
Brandon Johnston, 4.5 tackles, and he also had a sack. Now, the other thing about this guy, he's being recruited right now from the CFL. He's in his final year with Acadia, played his last game for Acadia University. Watch out for this kid at the next level. He's a fantastic football player.
All right, we'll try to catch him at the CFL Combine.
There you go. And speaking of kickers, okay, Brandon Jennings is the kicker for Acadia. He goes 1-1 on field goals, 1-1 on extra points, and he also intercepted a ball in the game, too, because he plays on defense, too.
Wow.
So there's a huge day.
Played point guard for the Milwaukee Bucks for a while, too, that Brandon Jennings.
Just 2 more stats from this game, Andy, and that is on the X side, I got Ethan Masterson. He had an interception, and you're going to love this guy's name. Chris Urlacher.
Yeah.
He had a sack for the X-Men as well.
No relation.
I have no idea.
Awesome.
That's your AUS semi game. 33-10 was your final. And again, this was a fantastic game. And now X.
Now, before we move on, was your drive back a little better than your drive there?
Not as much rain on the way home, but my car shifted on the highway at least 3 feet a couple times.
Yeah. It's a crazy weekend.
It was a crazy weekend.
All right.
Loney Bowl's coming up, Andy.
Here we go.
Loney Bowl.
Yep.
AUS Conference Championship. St. FX is going to be traveling to St. Mary's this Saturday in Halifax.
This Saturday?
This Saturday.
Unless they change it to a Tuesday? Or
this year it's on the Saturday.
Okay.
It's on the Saturday at 2 p.m.
Yeah.
At 2 p.m. There will be no Tuesday night last-minute trips. St. FX is coming in with a lot of the stars that we talk about, okay? Bailey Wasdale, quarterback. Keon Julian Grant. Greg McDonald. Jordan
Sofalufchuk.
There you go. It is going to be key for St. FX to get him off and running right off the bat. And his 5 offensive linemen are going to play a big factor in that, Andy. So I need to give these guys a shout out because what they've been doing all year with their running game is unbelievable.
Okay.
Number 65, left tackle Gregor McKellar. Number 69, left guard Jacob Sesja.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
Center, number 51, Jonathan Zamora. Number 57, right guard Connor Perry. And number 54, Liam McConville.
Yep.
All right?
Yep.
That's your offensive line. They have been fantastic this year. They beat up on the Acadia defensive line. They need to have a big game for X in this game. We'll talk about some keys of the game in a few seconds. On the defensive side of the ball, we have Gordon White, Dylan Bell, who's a defensive back. He's had 3 interceptions this year. Watch out for him. And this guy's name was brought up quite a few times, Andy, in the game at the semifinal. Now, I've heard it as an official on the field, but right. I'm wondering if you want to take a shot at it. He's a linebacker, number 55.
That's Ben von
Muhlendorfer. There you go. It's a fantastic name. I love it.
That was Ray's handwriting, by the way. So
there you go.
I think I would have got it right.
Those are your key players for X. Let's talk about St. Mary's. And the very first thing we don't know coming out of the gate.
Who's playing quarterback?
Yeah.
And if a certain someone is playing quarterback, how's he feeling?
Exactly. There's no updates on Caleb Scott whatsoever. I've been searching every news outlet there is. Nobody seems to know what's going on with Caleb Scott. So it'll either be him or it'll be Chris Villardo on Saturday. We're waiting to see. It's probably going to be a game time decision.
Yeah.
It's going to be big time important for St. Mary's to establish a running game in this. Yeah. In the very beginning of the year, Andy, remember we were talking about this rookie running back, Jonathan Simonkinda?
Sure.
All right. He had 280 yards this year and 2 touchdowns. His production really dropped off in the mid to late half of the season. They're going to have to find a running back to get some production because Scott has been their number 1 rusher all year.
And I believe Villardo tends to be, right up there in games he's playing in. So
he is, but they need to find a running back. On the wide receiver side, Liam O'Brien's been a very big player for them last year and this year. And they've got a number 7, Rick Lamorgan. This kid here, they need more production out of that second wide receiver spot. Liam O'Brien's been their prime-time target. They need to get more production out of their other targets as well.
For sure.
From a special team standpoint, no problems for St. Mary's. They got Brian Hope.
There's no kicker in the AUS we've talked about more.
Than Brian Hope.
Okay.
On defense, they're led by Brad Heburst.
Sure.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
He led the AUS in total tackles. And Jordan Art Angrove, he led the AUS in total interceptions.
Nice.
Those are the stars of the game, Andy, that I've just recapped for both X as well as St. Mary's. This is going to be a fantastic ball game. Me personally, I'm an official in this game. I can't wait to work this game. I think it's going to be a great game. But I think this game's going to come all down to coaching. These 2 coaches are 2 of the best coaches you're going to find, period. Coach Waterman, Coach Colsey. What a perfect matchup for 2 great coaches. Let's talk about the keys for each team, Andy.
You tell me what the keys to this game are.
All right, I'll tell you what I think the keys are to this game.
I'll tell you if I think you're right.
Okay, when it comes to Coach Waterman as the visiting team, his team with that running game, they're going to want to control the clock and put as many first downs on the board right off the bat.
First downs are good.
First downs are good.
Yep.
They've got to eliminate all turnovers. You don't want to have any turnovers on the road. And
that's a good thing. Yep.
The other first thing they'd want to do, in my opinion, is score first. Get that home crowd out of the game as quick as possible. Put some points up on the board.
Yep.
Don't, especially if Caleb Scott's playing in this game, don't put the ball in his hands. Don't let him have the ball, and you're off to a good start.
Well, I think, Ray, I think you nailed it. I mean, I think any team that does what you just described, it would have to be the Cleveland Browns to figure out a way to lose that game.
Right.
All right. So, all right, what are the
There's
keys?
your keys. Let's talk about Coach Colsey.
Yep.
And again, this guy's going to have his team ready. He's got to take full advantage of having home field advantage.
Oh, for sure.
Right? He's got to get that crowd into it right away. All I can tell you about St. Mary's this week, doesn't matter about Scott. It doesn't matter about Velardo. It's defense, defense, defense. They got to find a way to stop the run, stop Keon Julian Grant, and they need to make sure they win the turnover battle. They don't want to be giving up the ball to X. Scott has thrown a couple interceptions this year. They need to find a way to keep that at a minimum. Okay?
Yep.
The other thing that St. Mary's has done very well this year, Andy, is when they're in the red zone, they put points on the board 96% of the time. That's unbelievable. They got to keep that trend moving.
Yeah, keep that percentage. It's going to be hard to lose this game.
Those are the Ray Dunn keys to success to winning the Loney Bowl.
Okay. I think they were spot on.
All right.
Yeah. Whichever team manages to accomplish 5 out of 5 of the Ray Dunn keys to success, I guarantee victory.
There you go.
All right.
The other thing you got to do is don't take stupid penalties.
That's right.
We don't want to throw our flags. Don't make us throw flags.
But if you do, SMU, take advantage of that home field advantage, and you get the crowd heckling these guys bad. All right?
There you go.
You can yell at them all you want, Coach, but it's even more fun when the crowd gets into it.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, Andy. That's our local sports for this week.
All right. Hoping for much better weather this weekend for these big games, and I want to wish everybody good luck, and I want to wish you good luck, Ray, officiating this big game, and I'm looking forward to seeing I'll be catching a lot of it. I'll be catching the AUS game for sure online, so I look forward to it, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
See you next week. Good luck in the playoffs, guys.